Today we're talking about dietary recommendations for fiber. Hope you're excited. Let's dive right in. We've covered macronutrients already, so proteins, carbs, fats. Now we need to understand fiber and how much is recommended for us to intake on a daily basis. So let's get right to it, okay? The recommended daily intake for fiber is going to be for men 31 to 38 grams per day, women 25 to 28 grams per day. This might feel like a mind-boggling number, so stick with me. I'll share a little bit after we go through these numbers of where you should start if you know that that's a whole lot more than you're used to, okay? So that number comes from the National Academy of Sciences through the Institute of Medicine. So just know that I think most people probably hone in on like, oh, it's an FDA recommendation. There's quite a few organizations that work together to put out dietary recommendations. So the next way to calculate and understand how much fiber you should intake daily is through the AI, which is called your adequate intake. So you can see these numbers I have in squares. The adequate intake for men is 38 grams per day, and for women, 25 grams per day. If you remember back to the protein podcast episode that we did on dietary recommendations, you'll remember that we talked about the adequate intake being this number that is how much do we need of something so that we are not deficient in it. So for certain macronutrients, that number feels really low, like protein. And then for certain macronutrients, it might feel quite high. I think a lot of digestive concerns that we have in America could probably be eliminated if we were all a little bit more intentional about hitting that fiber goal. Not always that easy or simple. I know, I get it. Everybody has a unique circumstance sometimes that they're working through. So I get it. So another way to calculate your adequate intake is to figure out 14 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories that you take in per day. So if you're eating 1,000 calories per day, which I don't recommend, it's pretty darn low, then you want to make sure that at least out of your carbohydrates, 14 grams of those carbs are going to be fibrous carbohydrates. So I don't know the math off the top of my head, but 14 grams of fiber times, or fibrous carbs times 4 calories per gram should give you the amount of calories that would come out of your 1,000 calories. So for women, I did a little bit of cross multiplication math here for you. 14 over 1,000 is equal to 25 over X. That math turns out to be 1785. So this adequate intake of 25 grams is assuming that the woman is eating 1,785 grams of calories per day. And then for men, 38 grams, that cross multiplication, 14 over 1,000 equals 38 over X, puts men eating 2,715 calories per day. So if that is you, if you're eating 2,700 calories a day or 1,700 calories a day, then these numbers would be an accurate place for you to aim for. However, if you're eating less than that, which is not uncommon, then you might need a little bit less. So you might want to sit down with a piece of paper and do a little bit of math yourself and kind of go, or use who has time to sit down and use paper, right? Like use an AI resource, use ChatGPT or maybe Perplexity and kind of just type in your information, say like how much fiber based on all my numbers should I be taking in per day? And then you can ask it what foods you should eat to get that amount of fiber. So what I typically do with clients who are not eating the adequate intake amount or that recommended daily amount of fiber per day is I have them start by tracking their food. I like to use MyFitnessPal. There's many other apps out there that work really well, but get some sort of a dietary log, a dietary recall, figure out what you're currently doing so that you can go, okay, my current fiber intake looks like whatever it is. It is not uncommon for me to find that clients who are, at the beginning of their nutrition journey are only eating maybe 5 to 10 grams of fiber per day if they're not taking a supplement, if they're not really intentional. What is happening with my grammar and spelling today? Whatever. Hey, if they're not intentional about their fiber intake, they're probably not hitting this number. You do have to do some planning for this. So if you're currently eating, say, less than 10 grams of fiber per day, and this number feels like a shock for you, calm down. I do not want you to immediately jump to going, oh my gosh, I need to eat all the fiber and I need to go get all the supplements. No, you'll feel awful. You'll feel super bloated and you'll do it for 2 or 3 days. You'll be in the bathroom and you'll be like, nope, fiber doesn't do it for me. It's not going to work. Can't do it. Doesn't work. Start with consistently getting in about 8 to 10 grams per day. Start doing some research, figure out what foods are high fiber foods, and add one new thing in a week. Add one new thing in a week. Be consistent about having that fiber intake. Maybe it's 8 to 10 or 12 grams per day. The next week, maybe try bumping it to 12 to 15 grams per day. You want to slowly but surely work your way up to that recommended number. That's going to be kind of a more optimal place to support your gut health and keeping you full and satiated, help you with your weight loss goals, your fat loss goals, your muscle building goals, all those things. Fiber has a lot of really wonderful components to it. It's really great for you in a lot of different ways, but you don't want to just double your intake right off the bat. Your gut's not going to be happy with you. So figure out what you're currently doing, figure out how that compares to the recommended daily intake or that adequate intake number, do a little math, figure out what you need to do to get from point A to point B, and create a plan to get there. Okay, so those are your dietary recommendations for fiber. I hope this was helpful. Shoot me a message on Instagram if you have any questions. If you want some high fiber, high protein recipes that can help you to hit this goal, then I want you to join my recipe email list. I'll put the link in the show notes, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening on the podcast, but it's going to be https://dannyphillips.myflowdesk.com/recipes. Again, I'll put that link in the show notes. You can also find it on my Instagram. I'm at Danny Phillips. I do send out one recipe email every week. So if you're on my recipe email list, you'll get that recipe. Usually it's on Fridays around lunchtime. Definitely check that out. If you guys would like to join me for an in-person workshop, the final one that I'll be doing in the Shreveport, Louisiana area before I move to Florida will be Saturday, February 1st from probably 12:30 to, I'll put the link to register in the show notes for that as well. So that is going to be focused on macros, mocktails, and portions, what portion sizes and serving sizes look like. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If this was your first episode to watch or listen to and you want to go back to check out the protein, the carbs, and the fats episode, I highly encourage you to do so. I will link my full podcast in the show notes. So that's a wrap for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful. And I challenge you to go find some new fiber-filled foods. Bye for now.